Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Mondays. This is episode 30. So like I said last week, guys, I am returning to 2nd Platoon with the aim of completing them before moving on to finishing off the Assault Corps. So this week I focused on finishing the final infantry squad of 2nd Platoon, and that's what I've done. It's a 10-man squad, power sword and melter gun. Classic Mordian Assault Squad at this point. You guys know it, you love it, you've seen it. So that's the last one of these that you're going to see for a while, though, because this is the 12th infantry squad that I have completed. I now have the ability to run 120 line infantry, actually 130 in a pinch, but we'll get to that in a second. Really enjoyed painting this squad. Big mix of models, and some of them are quite rough, not going to lie. These guys are kind of bottom of the barrel when it comes to model quality. So only because you have some of the great Mordian restoration project that I am trying to repair and fix and repaint, almost 400 guys, and some of them are easier to fix than others, and some of them, if you've got wonky arm poses, you've got wonky arm poses, and you've just got to sort of try and paint around it and include one or two in every other squad so it spreads the wonkiness out across the army and it's not quite as noticeable. And it does work, but in this squad you've got, I think it's two or three of the multi-part Cadian models that definitely were not built ideally. Not the arms don't quite match up. Big gaps between the arms and the bodies, but I managed to fill them in and everything, so it's not too bad. I also used an array of parts. So the thing is, when you buy your, and go straight off on a tangent here, but it'll make sense. When you buy your parts from Anvil Industries, as you guys know, I've been using Anvil Industry heads to give Mordian caps to all my Cadians. When you buy a set of those, you only get 7. Now, obviously, if you're building a 10-man squad, you're 3 short. So it's not too bad, but what I've done, if you go back and look through a lot of my Cadian squads, is if I've only got 7 left over, because I'll buy in batches of more than 7, but I might only, it might get to the end of a platoon like I did in this case, I've just got 7 left over. So you have to sort of improvise. So what I did in this case is I used, for the melter gun guy, I used a vehicle crew head. In fact, there's 2 vehicle crew heads in this. One of them is the Catachan one. That's the guy with the bandana and the sunglasses on and the massive chin. And the other one is sort of the scrum cap. I don't know what the military term for it will be, but back in my rugby days, it's what you used to wear if you were in the scrum. And so he's got a scrum cap on, and which is like the padded hat. And I think it works quite well. It does add, again, it adds a little bit of variety to the unit, and it does. There is some sort of, it does fit in again with the fluff behind the Mordian 50 rifles, which is there's at the core of the regiment there is this hardcore pure Mordian group, but then a lot of the regiment, we're looking at probably like 50% of the regiment, is made up of other regiments that have been drafted in, remnants that have been drafted in to the Mordian 50 rifles, and most of these are Arcadians, but not all. And this is an example here where we've got the guy with the bandana. He is a Catachan who has ended up in the Mordian 50th rifles. Make no mistake, he's a Catachan, but he's got to respect the chain of command. And at the end of the day, when his commanding officer says, "Look, I don't care if you like to wear a red bandana and you like to wear a rubber banner and walk around topless, you can't do that. That's just not the way the Mordians do it. You can't run around in your bloody jacket. So get your proper uniform on, and if you want to, the compromise is if you insist on wearing a bandana, you've got to make sure it's green." Okay, so that's what that's how this lone Catachan guy in an entire regiment of Mordians, lone Catachan who's trying to sort of rail against the system, and then also you've got a guy with the other vehicle crew head with the scrum cap on. He's just a vehicle crew whose entire tank column basically got wiped out, and he's just the Mordians said, "Well, you're with us now. We've picked you up. Here's your new uniform. Dye your hat green if you insist on wearing it to remember your comrades. And but apart from that, here's your las gun. Crack on. You're the squad medic now. It's, you know, it's just silly, but it gives me fluff reasons for why the Mordians have got these other maybe not quite regulation uniform models in their squads. So this squad is a bit more of a rough and ready one, to be honest. It's made up of, you've got the Catalan guy, you've got the vehicle guy, and then you've got the classic Metalcadian sergeant. Now that's the guy who's got the las pistol and power sword in this unit. Now I have loved this model since I've seen it. I actually love the old school Cadians. I do. They fit in with the older metal models in general, with the old Mordians and whatnot. But the old Metalcadians, I actually think look better. In many ways, look better than the current ones. Don't get me wrong. I think the current current plastic Cadians are fantastic. It's timeless. Games Workshop never really has to update them. Maybe an upgrade sprue at some point for regiments. But that's all they'd need to provide. Third party market is built around these kits. Which is good for the Games Workshop and good for the third party, because it means Games Workshop has an excuse not to put money into updating the Guardsman kits. People are still going to buy them. People are absolutely still going to buy Guardsman kits, but if they want to spend a bit of extra money upgrading them, they can do, and it's no skin off Games Workshop's nose. But so I like that bit, and the fact you can customize them and convert them, absolutely great. But the problem I have with the current Games Workshop Cadians is they're quite well armored. I mean, those shoulder pads are quite big, and the flak jacket doesn't. The flak jacket sort of covers your up to your belly button, but then your most vital organ is your stomach, where if you get shot in your stomach, you're pretty much dead. If stomach wounds are really bad. That bit's not covered, so it's a bit, it does look good, but the armor's a bit bulky, but they're not that functional. Whereas in the old Cadian models, it's like they don't actually wear huge amounts of armor. They've got a couple of armor plates strapped on, but that's it. And they actually do look kind of, I don't know, kind of Imperial Guardish. Because Cadian armor looks like it would do a really good job of stopping a bullet, whereas Guardsmen don't really have that luxury most of the time. I don't know. I do love the current Cadian ones, but I do have a soft spot for the old metals, and I think the old metal Cadians do have a lot of charm, especially the old sergeant. So I picked this guy up, and again, he has his old pattern of equipment, and essentially he was from the background fluff I've come up with. This guy is he was from a far-flung colony that had been on the Eastern Fringe, which is where the Mordians are based, and he had that had been a very early colony which had been settled by, which had been garrisoned by early Cadian regiments, and their equipment essentially was never updated. So they got all the old patterns of equipment, and the Department of Minotaurums was like, well, you're just a garrison, you don't really need to. You don't need the best of the best. You can just recruit from the local population, hand your equipment down, and keep it ticking over. And so that's what they've done. But the problem is that these guys were based on the Eastern Fringe, and they were facing off against the Tau, and the Tau have got already outmatched the Imperium. I mean, heresy, of course, but the Tau already outmatched the Imperium in terms of equipment, individually. So these guys They fought valiantly for years against the Tau, but it was an inevitable outcome. They've got outdated equipment by Imperial standards, and so his entire regiment was whittled down until he was the last guy left, and and he has an absolutely ingrained hatred of the Tau, and so the Mordian 50th were more than happy to have him, because they are the Tau of the Mordian 50th's most hated enemies as well. And out of respect for his dead comrades and for his regiment, and the fact that he is the last of his regiment, the Mordians allowed him to keep his old pattern of equipment, because even though it is inferior, he's used to wearing it. It works for him, and again, like I said, it's respect that the rest of his regiment is gone, basically. Same with the Katachan guy. Same with the Skullcap guy, Scrumcap guy. They're the last. Each one of those guys is the last of their regiment, and so they've all been put together in this squad with some new Mordian, recruits, some new other draftees from another regiment who've just been given the hat, and they're basically leading that squad. So it's a bit of a so it explains throughout the. If you look throughout the army, there are lots of these guys who don't necessarily have the Mordian, peaked cap, and each time you see one of those in the army, the fluff is that's pretty much the last one or two of a regiment that's been drafted into the Morning Infantry Rifle. So there you go, guys. If a bit of fluff behind that. I think it's important that we do the fluff and developing of the Morning Infantry Rifles. I do really, really enjoy. Now, you also notice that, guys, that I've, as per request, I have included some full army pictures. I want to apologise straight away. The quality of these pictures isn't great. It's the lighting in my living room was poor. I did try to improve it with some lamps and stuff, and improve on the settings on my camera, but they are generally kind of poor, so I apologise for that. But it gives you an idea of where we're up to the Morning 5th Rifle. So you can see that we have 2 full platoons. That's 60 line infantry in each platoon. For those of you that don't know, I use platoons and my platoons are in air quotes, inverted commas, whatever, and each one of those represents a battalion in terms of actual Games Workshop detachments. But I call them platoons because it refers to the old school way that Games Workshop used to run the guard. So each platoon has got now the full complement of line infantry, so they are full. Well, they're at full infantry strength, but each platoon/battalion also gets a squad of veterans and abhuman support. So first platoon has all that. First platoon's got 6 infantry squads, 3 fire support squads, 3 of which are fire support squads, 3 of which are assault squads, 2 lascans and 1 lascan and 2 missile launchers in the support weapons, and then 3 assault squads in the with power swords and melters and flamers in the other 3. And then second platoon is all assault infantry all the way. That's 6 infantry squads with a mixture of power weapons on the sergeants, a plasma pistol in there as well, and a mixture of flamers and melter guns. So that's 120 line infantry. They don't have the veterans or the abhumans yet, but both platoons do have the heavy weapons support, which is a squad of mortars. So we also have the beginnings of third platoon, which is the stormtrooper platoon, which I'm using my Death Corps Krieg Grenadier rules for. They were covered over the last few weeks, so I won't go too much into that. And I also have some spare characters. So each platoon gets a Lord Commissar and a priest as the non-regiment support characters, and then a junior officer or platoon commander and company commander for the officers. So I've got that for the 2 platoons, but I also have painted up other characters just to give myself some flexibility. So I've got a Master of Ordnance, I have a Officer of the Fleet, who I often just use as a stand-in for another company commander. So I've got Officer of the Fleet, Astropath, I've got the 3 advisors, and then I have another Lord Commissar with a power fist, and there's another character in there as well, which I can't remember quite. It might be one. It might be another junior officer. I also have. So when I said I can run 120 infantry, but actually 130 over the 2 platoons, I've also painted up some. When I've been testing out paint schemes and extra officers and stuff, I actually have enough models to put together a full squad with a sergeant with plasma pistol and power sword and a heavy bolter and a grenade launcher. So I actually have another 10-man squad, but the paint scheme is a bit all over the place. Some of them have got the edge highlights, some of them don't. One of them's blue and white, one of them's green and yellow. And you'll notice that with one of the heavy weapon teams is green and yellow as well. That's when I was testing, out the other paint schemes available, other paint options, because I wasn't sure I was going to stick with the green and blue, but I am doing now. So there you go, guys. So I actually have the beginnings. I actually have an extra squad that I can plop in a moment's notice. Although, like I said, the paint scheme is a little all over the place, but that wouldn't take long for me to fix. So, what am I going to be working on next? Okay, we've done the fluff, we've done the modelling and the painting, and we've done where we're up to with the army so far. Should say so. Just to confirm, if I was to put every model that I have painted on the table, I have 60 line infantry, sorry, 130 line infantry, plus I have a squad of veterans, so that's 140 infantry, plus I have 3 squads of grenadiers, so that's 155 infantry, plus the 5 spare characters, 160, plus the Ogryns, 166, plus 2 sets of mortars, so it's 172, 178, plus the 2 characters for the grenadiers, 180, and then plus the 2 sets of characters for leading the squads, 188. I think I've got about 188, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 120, 130. Yeah, so I think I've got 188 infantry painted up already. So if I was to put everything on the board, I think it's under 1,500 points. Amazingly, I think it's under one. Yeah, it's quite cheap. So plenty of wiggle room. You also have to understand, guys, that I'm gonna get to the point now where when I have my 3 full platoons, that will equal more than 2,000 points. So whilst at the moment I am running things as I will complete that platoon so that I can then field that platoon on the field of battle, it will very, I'm not sticking rigidly to that platoon format. If I want to run a game with pure infantry and no heavy weapon teams, I'll do that. Or no Ogryns, I'll do that. It's fine. But it helps the reason I'm painting in this format is it helps motivate me. I will complete this detachment, great. I'll complete the next detachment, great. You have to understand that I have more than 3, even though because there's the general rule of 3 when it comes to detachments as well as data sheets. I have more than 3 detachments worth of Imperial Guard infantry. Way more. I probably have 5 detachments of regular infantry, and then on top of that I'll have my stormtrooper detachment, which will be at least 1 full detachment, actually more like 2. So, but I would say I have 6 battalions worth of infantry that I can field, both grenadier, scion, and regular line infantry. So I've completed 2. And I am cracking on with the 3rd one. So we're about, I'd say, being pessimistic, glass half empty, probably about a third of the way through. And it's taken us about, it's taken me about 6 months. I'd say, when we've really started churning the squads out, it's taken me about 6 months to get to this point. So 180 infantry over 6 months. I'm basically getting about 30 infantry painted a month. Now, if I can get a detachment done every 3 months, which makes sense because I'll spend 1 month doing 2 months doing the line infantry and a month doing all the extra bits and bobs. If I can get a detachment done every 3 months, then, and we're already well into the 3rd detachment, then by the end of this year, I should be, by the end of 2016, Jesus Christ, 2020, I should have I should be looking at finishing up the Great Mordian Restoration Project. So, but obviously things get in the way. Now that I know on the Bolter and Chainsaw they're talking about doing the Black Templar painting competition, which will obviously take up some of my time because I want to focus on Black Templars, and I also have my World Eaters that I want to focus on and potentially starting a new army. So there's lots of stuff in the pipeline here, guys. But touch wood, we are hoping to get the Great Mordian Restoration Project to be either completed or in the final stages by the end of 2020. Now that may happen, that may not happen. I'm looking, there's lots of real world stuff going on. I may be looking to buy a house my first house this year. Get on that property ladder, yo. So it may or may not happen. But that's what we should aim for, and that's what I'm going to aim for. So there we go, guys. Very casual Mordian Monday this time. We've talked a lot about fluff. I haven't focused so much on tactics simply because you guys know the tactics for this kind of squad at this point. It's a melter power source squad. It runs up and melts things and charges into combat. Next week, though, I think we're looking at abhumans. I previously mentioned ratlings. I'm not going to get ratlings. I'm trying not to buy more models at the moment because I've got, when I buy a new squad, that actually extends the length of the project because that adds, guys onto the total that we've already had, which I've already done a lot with my Grenadier platoon. So, outside of buying a few bits here and there. So what we're looking at actually is Bullgrins. Abhuman support. I might use this rest of this month, so over a week, to get my full Bullgrin star. 9 Bullgrins painted up. Now, I'm not sure on the best loadout for these guys. I know to totally avoid Grenadier Gauntlets, they're pointless. But I'm thinking Bullgrin Mauls on everyone, and I'm thinking 5 Slab Shields and 4 Bucklers, or maybe 6 and 3. I think I'll run 6 and 3, because that way if I want to run just 6 Slab Shields, I can do. And then if I want to have 3 of the Invuln Shields, I can do, but I'm probably not going to bother with that too much, but it gives me a little flexibility. I like to run the Boneheads with the shields, with the Invuln save shields, just as tradition. So if I have 3 of them, it means if I wanted to, I could break the 9-man squad down into 3 3-man squads. Don't know why I would want to do that, but I could do that. So I will have to think about how I'm going to mould on some Mordian caps onto some Bullgrin models, but that will be something to look forward to next week. So there you go, guys. Hope you have enjoyed this week's video. I hope you're going to be looking forward to next week's video. Give me some advice down in the comments on what you recommend the best Bullgrin loadout is. And yeah, there you go, guys. Also, I'd like to say, I forgot to say it last week, but I really enjoy seeing the comments about other people's progress on their painting projects. So if anyone else has been working on anything awesome this week, please, or over the last few weeks, please put it down in the comment section below, and I would love to hear about how your painting projects are going on as well. Thank you very much for listening, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.